people like me were concerned. I train with firearms. I really care about the Second Amendment, and I'm critical of the government, and I understand my philosophy and how to express that. And so I was looking for kind of like-minded people to essentially be able to protect ourselves in case a real tyranny came down. And from my experience, I found these groups that would have private property to train on, and you would go and train. So it's just a regular thing, right? People are talking about what they believe in and training with firearms, but little do you know that all the people who are training everyone are feds, right?
How many of them were feds?
Well, in just our case, the federal case, the 6 guys that went to the first trial, there was at least 12 informants there, and then 3 undercover feds.
So, wait, how many people total? You've got
6. Well, 6 were charged federally, and then for those 6 people,
15 were feds.
Right.
Or like informant or actual working feds.
So the majority of like the group.
That's just so insane.
Yeah.
They like make a fake group to try and bring people in or something?
That's exactly what they did. They made so many fake profiles, militia profiles, like militia 3%, blah, 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 whatever. And they draw people in and try to organize people from other states and say, hey, we got this property, come train on it, and hey, we got food. It's like a family atmosphere. It's really nothing wrong, so people show up.
So this, there's all of these people who are being charged. Do you know all of them?
No, they were acquaintances of mine. I really got closer to them when I was in jail, awaiting trial than how well I knew them prior to that.
You were in for, what was it, 18 months?
Yes, 18 months.
On fake charges. They made this up.
Yes, 100% made up.
That's insane. Well, let's start from the beginning. I have 1,000,001 questions, but let's start with the charges and they arrest you and all that stuff. Like, what happens?
Yeah, so how I got arrested was I was literally at work. I ordered lunch from the same place. So I order, my avocado burger with jalapeno and onion on it. And, I'm waiting to go get that. And my supervisor comes up to me. He's like, hey, like the plant manager or whatever wants to talk to you. And I'm assuming that he left already, but I guess not, right? So what happened with that is the FBI showed up, essentially told my supervisor, hey, you got to get him and draw him over here. So he's like, doesn't know what's going on. He's like, oh crap. Like, okay. So he tells me to go in this room. I walk into this conference room that I had been in before, but the lights were out.
Whoa.
And I walk in and I look around like, what? Next thing you know, the lights flick on. 15 plainclothes FBI agents with baklavas over their face are like, get down on the ground now. Put your hands behind your back. Stop resisting. And they just tackle me down to the ground, dude.
Whoa,
and start digging through my pockets and all this stuff. And I'm literally, I don't know they're from the government. They didn't say FBI or anything. They just attacked me and essentially kidnapped me.
Yeah. So when do you find out in this case that they're feds? You're being charged, they're coming after you?
So what happened after that is they put me in chains and they walked me up to this very tall, slender man in a black suit with slicked back black hair. And they said, is this the guy? And he said, what's your name? I said, Brandon. He said, that's him. Put him in the back. And I'm like, okay. So they throw me in the back and I realize these guys have these earpieces on and stuff like that. I'm like, oh, okay, these are feds.
Yeah.
They're still not telling me anything,
Did you have an inkling?
Yeah, because they really wanted my phone. They really wanted to look at my car and stuff. So I just told them I don't consent to any of this. I don't consent, blah, blah, blah. That's really all I could do. They had me. And then I didn't find out what the charges were exactly until we pulled up to the police station. I was like, oh, okay.
Did you have any idea that anything like this could happen?
No. The entire time, look, I'm a smart guy. If I'm engaging in certain behaviors, I'm going to understand whether or not I could probably get in trouble for it. Not one time did I ever think that I could get arrested or in trouble for just expressing my beliefs.
Me and my buddies wrote a sketch. We never did it. Wrote it years ago. And it goes like this. There's 2 cops in a van with surveillance equipment, and they're holding the earpiece to their right ear. And then you hear a guy saying something like, all right, get in the van, load the equipment, take it to the bridge. We're going to take all these people down. And they're going like, oh man, this is getting crazy. And then one guy's like, those are the victims. You sure about this? Yep. That's the target. Go now. And they're like, we got to go in and stop these guys. And the cops run out of the van, run to the house, kick the door in, and there's 3 fat dudes playing Grand Theft Auto. And they're like,
Yeah.
Because, the general idea is, it's funny because me and my friends were talking about something like this years ago. This is basically what they do. My understanding in your case is they start asking you things. They start sparking up conversations and asking you how you feel about things so that you can say something that's not illegal in any way, but they can misconstrue to a jury to make it seem like you had malintent.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly what they did. And specifically, they it's like a theatrical thing. Like they record you training in certain instances, and then they pick certain angles of you, like with your firearm, and it makes it look more evil than what's actually happening. And they put these characters together, but they pick their main guys. And usually that person is someone who's kind of like down and out. They might not be the most intelligent person.
Yep.
And they choose them and try to like groom them and coax them to say the most ridiculous things and put them in a leadership position and say, hey, you're the leader of Michigan, blah, 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 whatever.
Like Adam.
Yeah.
We had talked to the guys from, Paradise Lost. Are you familiar with that?
No.
The Satanic Panic story from the 90s.
Oh, yeah.
80s, 90s. Early 90s, I think. It's been a while. It's been a month or so since we had him. But this is the general story. The cops find a guy who's not too bright, interrogate him to the point where he breaks down and just says anything. And then they say, now implicate these guys. And he does. And they go, we got him.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was reading one quote in particular. It's like the notable quote, I suppose, where they claimed you said something to the effect of, if it all goes down, I'm going to be armed and I'm going to take action, or something to that effect.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Can you speak to that? I mean, what is that about? Is this you saying like, I'm ready for war, or is it you in a hypothetical scenario where they're telling you you're being attacked? Like, what is this?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. So what had happened was I was pretty angry that, 2 weeks prior to me actually getting arrested, I kept getting harassed by police. Like they were making up reasons to pull me over, and they pulled me over and for just like a bullcrap reason, and at the time it's like I'm trying to pay my bills and stuff. So now I gotta like owe like $200-300 for this ticket. So I'm very frustrated. And in my philosophy, if you were to engage in the same behaviors that police do on the road, like why don't you go ahead and try to pull someone over and start rummaging through their stuff and then charge them a bunch of money and see how that goes? They're gonna think you're trying to rob them, right? So. You are
trying to rob them.
Right. So, after getting robbed, I was like, frustrated. And I was saying like, look, people that engage in this behavior, this is theft. This is robbery. And look, if this all goes down, I'm going to defend myself. You know what I'm saying? If tyranny happens, I'm going to defend myself with my firearms. And I'm not going to allow anyone to take my rights.
So, man, I'm losing my voice now. All of a sudden, out of nowhere. But we'll try to get through it. You get acquitted, and I want to start there, and then we'll go back and talk a lot more about the trial. But what was that like? I mean, the jury heard the story, and it just was not credible. The evidence didn't back it up. What was the jury like, and how did they ultimately decide you didn't do anything wrong?
Yeah, so this jury was very interesting because the entire time, you're trying to gauge expressions of these individuals, and you're trying to figure out like when something is said, what was their reaction to it, or if they're on your side. And they were pretty stone-faced. They were pretty good at not showing expression. And I think my attorney, Mike Hills, did a very great job of, showing the truth and showing that, look, my client never agreed to do anything. Whether or not you agree or disagree with my client's statements about police or about the government, frankly, he said, I don't agree with them. But that has nothing to do with the charge. He's being charged for conspiring to kidnap the governor, right? And he says nothing about her. He doesn't go to her house. He doesn't, say, let's get her. He never agrees with anyone to do anything like that. You just have him saying offensive statements and then have him running through a shoot house with a short barrel rifle and then say, well, you should convict this guy because
Wow.
he doesn't like the police.
How long was the trial?
It was a month.
And then I think it was really big news when this came out, because we started getting more and more details that this plot seemed entirely fabricated. Then your acquittal, and I believe Harris Daniel Harris was also acquitted. Was that similar in his case? I don't know if you know or Christina.
It was similar, yeah.
Yeah.
Daniel didn't agree to kidnap either. In fact, he'd said statements to the contrary, right? He had said things like, we're not black bagging politicians and stuff like that. So he had said the opposite. There was no agreement on his part for any kind of kidnapping. And with Brandon, one of the other things that happened is they early on pressured Ty Garbin to take a plea deal. And that was like right after you guys got arrested. You guys got arrested October 2020. I think January 2021, he took a plea deal, and his
Right before the election.
Yeah,
Yes.
his lawyer used to work for the FBI, so that's kind of interesting
Wow.
also. But once they had, they had to have somebody to say that there was a conspiracy, because they couldn't prove it on their own. There's no evidence. There's nothing of these guys on audio, of the thousands of hours of video audio they have of anybody conspiring to kidnap anybody. And then you need to show a criminal enterprise. If you're saying people are conspiring to carry out like this act, show acts in furtherance of that conspiracy. Show where they're like stockpiling ammunition or making large purchases for firearms or whatever. They don't have that. So they have to have somebody take a plea deal and say, yes, this happened. And they pressured another guy, Caleb Franks, into taking a plea right before you guys went to trial, like a month before, and he'd been fighting it prior to that. But